post-emerge soybean herbicides. This discussion was pretty easy about 10 years ago for most people because they were just spraying Roundup. You're not going to be just spraying Roundup today. You've got a lot of choices, and at first depends on the trait. Do you have a Roundup trait? Do you have a Liberty trait? Do you have an Extend trait? What do you have on your farm? That's where it needs to begin.
Yeah, and the other thing is it begins with that Preemerge program. You have to have an awesome Preemerge program because as you're going to learn very shortly here, there's not very many tough things that work well post-emerge.
I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there.
All right, let's go for it.
At this point, there are no weeds in the world that are resistant to Liberty. But it's not good enough because how quickly do some of these weeds grow? Within a week, most weeds can be out of the range of Liberty. So you're not going to be out there spraying once a week. You can't. You can only spray it twice.
I totally get that. We got to get the weeds in there small. The other thing is guys don't want to use lots of water and they don't want to switch spray tips. Why on earth would you spray Liberty if you're not using a small droplet? If you're using great big droplets,
you don't get the same
it's going to be
bang for the
really,
buck.
really tough for Liberty to work.
That's right. Your weed control goes down. So we want lots of water, lots of pressure, small spray droplets with Liberty. We want the exact opposite, pretty much, when we start talking about dicamba. Okay, so if you're out there spraying dicamba,
not necessarily less water. You can use 15 gallons of water. That's totally fine. But you do need to have those bigger droplets because that's what the label requires.
In terms
because
of drift,
they're worried about drift.
Right. So anyway, the big thing here is I don't care if we're talking Liberty or we're talking dicamba. For both of them, you can look right on the label and it's going to tell you how tall the weeds can be. It doesn't say 1 to 2 foot tall weeds. It says 4 inches, maybe 6 inches. Okay, so that's the big thing regardless of the herbicide you're spraying, and I could say the same thing's true with all the rest of the herbicides we'll talk about today. So the big thing here with dicamba is make sure that you're following the label. Spraying early, spraying at the right time of day with the right wind speed, the proper downwind buffer, and all those types of things.
Here's the thing that I'll say, everything we just talked about, the disclaimer that I would have is we really don't recommend using a single mode of action.
Right.
We've got to use at least 2 effective modes of action. If you're spraying the Ingenia or Extendamax types of products, Fexapan, well, hopefully you're able to mix something else with that that'll help you on the weeds. Same thing with Liberty. If you're just spraying Liberty alone, man, we're asking for trouble. We really need to have another product with it.
Well, yeah, but let's say I've already got 3 modes of action down, and I really only want to spray Extend by itself because I think I'll have less volatility and less drift. Well, so now that's the 4th mode of action I'll already have put on the crop, and I'm going to follow with 1 or 2 more later.
Hey, I'm fine.
How do you feel about that?
I love having lots of modes of action. However, what the studies have shown is you're 83 times more likely to develop resistance when in a single application, you're spraying 1 mode of action that's working. Now, you could say, well, I'm going to use Extendamax and Roundup or something like that. Wonderful, you have 2 modes of action. However, only one of them works. So if you've got resistant Palmer pigweed, now you're just spraying the dicamba or you're just spraying the Liberty.
All right, but let's keep in mind, a dead weed can never become resistant. So as long as you get 100% control, I'm not worried about it.
All right. You know, here's the other problem. Like Brian was saying before, weeds are growing so fast. You miss one, and now when you come back, it could be 6 inches taller, and now there might not be a good option to get it other than hand weeding, which is always an option.
All right, when we start talking about early post applications, yes, we'd like to see you throw a Group 15 out there if you feel you need it and you want more residual.
But that's not going to kill anything.
To be early.
It's not going to burn anything down.
It's not going to kill anything that's already up. Exactly, that's just for residual. So the products we'll talk about now are the ones that will actually burn down weeds that are already up. And the big ones I think about are FlexStar and First Rate, in addition to Cobra and Ultra Blazer.
Okay, so that FlexStar or Famecifen is really the most popular one that's being used. We see a lot of that going out there, either solo or tank mixed with some of these herbicide tolerant options. Wow, it's really hot. Like with a Liberty, for example, you've got fire coming out almost.
Yes, it can burn down weeds fairly quickly, but here again, with FlexStar, we want more water, we want a little more pressure, we want a little smaller droplet if we can get it, and you got to spray small weeds. The other big thing with FlexStar for me is it's not labeled everywhere in the country. The use rate lowers the further west and north you go, and then also we got to think about the 10-month rotational restriction to corn. That's a big deal. So I got to have that sprayed by June 1st if I want to plant April 1st next year.
Well, that is a big deal. And you look at, well, what's my alternative if I don't use that? Well, you're probably using Cobra or Ultra Blazer, where you don't have as much for rotational restrictions, but you may have more crop response.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of products. Let's get very specific to weeds here. If you don't have one of those traits, like the dicamba trait or anything else, let's say I just want to kill these weeds conventionally. Best thing on water hemp or Palmer pigweed?
Well, you got to spray it small and you use Flex Star or use Cobra or Ultra Blazer.
Okay, how about kochia?
Well, with kochia, there's nothing that's really good. Cobra is probably the best, but wow, you've got to get that real small or you're just not going to get it under control.
Ragweed, common ragweed and giant ragweed, I'll lump them together.
I like first rate or first rate with Flex Star. I think that works the best.
Well, that's if it's not ALS resistant. If it's ALS resistant, the first rate won't work at all.
Well, there you go.
Then
That's
you
why
have to
you do
go
the
Flex
combination.
Star, and Cobra is not too bad either, or Ultra Blazer really. Okay, so how about lamb's quarters?
Well, with lamb's quarters, then you have to go back to a different chemistry. It used to be called Pinnacle. That works really well, or Harmony. That type of chemistry can do a good job for really a low price.
All right, and then one of the toughest ones once you get post-emerge, mare's tail.
Well, that is a tough one. And I like all those other options that you've got that are named dicamba or Liberty or Roundup when it used to work. But now in crop, wow, Flex Star is probably good, but first rate, you know, again, you may have some resistance issues there, so that first rate Flex Star combo is my general choice.
Yep, otherwise we've had halfway decent luck with a Flex Star Classic combination as well. We never mentioned Classic.
If your
it's an
soils
SU.
can tolerate that, yeah.
Yep. We worry about the high pH soils and carry over with Classic, especially at higher rates.
Well, there, as you can see, it gets pretty tough when you get away from some of those herbicide-tolerant options. So make sure, if you're still planting beans, get those pre's out there. Even if you say, well, I'm a little bit late, you still got to get those pre's out because post-emerge, outside of your herbicide-tolerant options like Liberty and the dicamba-type products, we don't have much to control some of these weeds.
Well, yeah, but we do have some options. So go to the Ag PhD Field Guide app if you've got questions about specific weeds, and then we list a lot of these things out for corn, for soybeans, and for wheat.
One of those weeds you may find on there is our Weed of the Week. Can you identify this week's weed?